Okay, you ready? Okay. Okay, let's start with introductions. So we kind of already went over in our first podcast about who we were on the team. This time we're probably just going to say our names, but then we're going to introduce our special guests with us this time. So I'm Ellen.
I'm Jackson. Katie.
Katie.
I'm Katie.
And
Okay, so sorry, I'm having a couple internet troubles. So today we have with us
I didn't
our
hear
special
Natalie.
guest.
I don't know if you guys did.
Oh, we haven't introduced her yet. We have today our special guest, Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, everyone.
We're just gonna start asking a couple questions. When did you join robotics?
So I joined robotics my freshman year, the fall of my freshman year. So right at the beginning.
Very fun.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since you joined?
So originally I wasn't sure which group to join, but I ended up joining electrical my freshman year, and I was just a member of electrical. I ended up my sophomore year and junior year, I was the lead of electrical. So I kind of led the little group on our team, and then this year I am the engineering president.
now we're going to get a little personal, I guess. What are your feelings about robotics?
So I've always loved robotics, I feel like. I mean, it's kind of a place where you can connect with people who have the same interests as you. I mean, I really found my passion for electrical engineering here. It's kind of cool because you can work on the robot and then directly see your results and know you're doing something, you know, and when it works, it's super satisfying and rewarding. So, I don't know, it's kind of a good, like effort and reward system, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you get reward for the work you do.
That makes sense.
That kind of leads into our next topic. Why did you join robotics? I'm going to ask this question to everyone, but Natalie, you can start here.
Okay, so I joined robotics. Well, I was really shy my freshman year. And I ended up taking an engineering class, Miss Wendell's engineering class, actually, which I didn't even plan to take. It was kind of just given to me, and I was like, I guess I'll stick with it. I originally wanted to do AP Human Geography, but I ended up in engineering. And Miss Wendell was like, hey, she recognized that I kind of had a passion for creativity. She's like, hey, you should join robotics. And I was like, okay, I might as well try it. So I started coming to a couple meetings, and yeah, that was why I joined. And then I found out that I loved it.
Jackson, why did you join?
So, all of my life, I've always been very fascinated with robots and a lot of just technology in general. I was one that watched BattleBots a lot when I was a kid. I'm sure a lot of us did.
Out of odds.
So in seventh grade, middle school, my school decided that we were gonna have a robotics team, and my friend, like me and a couple other friends, were like, "Hey, we should do this. This sounds fun." So we did it, and I kind of got into the swing of things. And then the next year, it started to get really big, and it started to be something I started to do a lot. And then now that I'm in high school, I joined this team, and I have to say this is probably one of the most fun teams I've been on.
What team were you on before?
I was on a team that was. I'm not gonna disclose the name because that might be a little bit too specific, but it was a Vex IQ team
Ooh.
that was in Arizona. Wow.
Crazy
Who'd have
within the
thought?
state we're in.
Yeah.
Ellen, why'd you join robotics?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. When I first came to high school, I had like no friends. I was so lonely because I came from like out of the school district area. So there was like everyone there was like from like the same school, like they were from like Centennial or some other middle school that was like close to Mountain Point. So I was like, I need some friends. Let me just join some clubs and try to find friends. So I think my freshman year, the clubs were doing like a club rush out in the courtyard, like near the cafeteria. And then the robotics team was there, and they were like demonstrating the big bot that we had that was like 6 feet tall. It's like a rectangle kind of thing. So I saw that, and then like I was like, that's cool. Let me just join. So that's like long story short, how I joined robotics. And then I ended up meeting a lot of my friends in robotics too. Um, Lauren, she was on our podcast last time. I actually met her in Walmart first, trying to get my glasses, and then I saw her get robotics. So like, what a coincidence! But that actually happened.
And Katie, what about you?
Ooh, what about me? Okay, let's see if I can make a long story short. So in 5th and 6th grade, there is an FLL team at my school, and I had joined that, and I kind of took up programming there, or very, very fun programming. I remember I'd spent hours trying to figure out what was wrong with my code. It was a semicolon, just 10 out of 10. And then 7th grade, I joined a Vex team at my other school I'd gone to before I switched to the middle school that took me to Mountain Point. And I remember doing that, and it was just kind of over the background interest. And then my freshman year, I joined. Well, I'd been at Mountain Point, and I was looking around for clubs to join. Natalie actually was the one who told me I should join robotics, because I remember we'd been doing a library volunteering thing, and she couldn't come to one night, and so I texted her about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you should join robotics." And so I was looking at it, and Club Rush. I was standing near the table. I'm very shy, kind of awkward person, so I'm looking at the table like, do I want to go up there and start a conversation? And so the president came up to me and he's like, yeah, you should join. Here's our meetings. And then I came in and it was a really welcoming environment, and I was just very happy to stay along. I've always loved STEM, just robots. Very fun.
For context, Club Rush is something that our school does 2-3 times every year, and it's basically just a bunch of clubs show off what they do in the hallways or sometimes the courtyard. It's kind of both at the same time, most of the time though. And we basically just are like, hey, this is what we do in our club, join us. So it's basically advertising for clubs.
It's effective.
It is very effective. But anyways, let's move on. We are going to ask Natalie about our game design challenge and what we did, as now that all of that is out, we can kind of actually talk about it since everyone's done with it at this point. So as business, we don't know much about the game. We were kind of uninvolved in it, as our business team is obviously, we're a lot more for getting sponsors and sending out newsletters and updates about what the team is doing. So we don't know the very specifics about this game design that was doing it. We were just telling people that we were doing it, as we can't really release exactly what we're doing because it's our competition thing.
Yeah.
So we are very much part of the audience of this. So the first thing that we want to go over is the theme. Natalie, What was the theme of our game that we made?
So we went through a lot of theme ideas before deciding on one. In order to kind of like make our game more competitive, we wanted to do what First usually does with their games. They have like a whole, oh, so and so is happening at First City, you know? So we wanted ours to be a tsunami is heading towards First City. So the main idea is that the tsunami is coming towards the city. At the beginning of the game, the robots have to like sound the alarms, and then the whole idea is that they get supplies to the citizens and help the citizens like evacuate the city in time before the tsunami.
Alright, so what were the requirements for our game? And what was our game in general? What was the design? What was everything about it?
So for the game, the requirements were to submit 4 supplemental pages. They could include anything on them. We chose to include like the point system, the overview theme of our game, and pictures of the CAD design we did. We also had to submit like a picture of our game design of the whole field assembly, which we did. And then we also had like these short answer questions like, what are the components to your game? Like, what is the like requirements of the game, the overview of the game? So we had to submit all of that. And then Jackson, did you want me to go over the actual game?
Yes.
And talk about what it is? Okay, perfect. So there's 3 different periods, like there are in most first games. We have an autonomous period, a teleop period, and then the end game period. So the autonomous period is when the drivers don't have any control over the robot, and it's all pre-coded. So at the beginning, it's like 5 points for each robot to cross the autonomous line, and that's what sounds the tsunami alarms. So then like you hear this huge alarm go off, and then the citizens can evacuate. So that's kind of the beginning of the game. And in autonomous, the robots have the option to start the game early if they're programmed before and get double points for any of the actions that they do. The teleop period is where the game actually happens. So we have a couple different aspects. We have these storage containers that are pentagon shaped. We thought that would be a unique shape for first. They haven't really had a pentagon shape before. And then we have this mountain that they place it on. There's 4 different levels of the mountain. So there's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And tier 1 is at the ground level. So like smaller bots or beginner bots still have a chance to play the game. They take those pentagon shapes, put them on each level. The point system works pretty easily. The tier 1 or the ground level is 1 point, then 2 points, then 3 points, etc. Each team starts with 12 pentagon blocks, and then the human player can give them more as they go along. That way they can get as many blocks as possible over there. And then we have a fun element of the game that was given to us in our kit of parts is the chain element. It qualifies us for a couple of awards as well, and we wanted to implement that into the game. So we use that as our like extra special challenge. Is pretty much the robots like build a wall to help protect the city. So we have wall blocks hanging on both sides of the driver station, near the driver station area. So there's a total of 4. There's 2 for each alliance. And robots pretty much grab the block that's hanging by a chain. So they have to use the chain to get it off, and then they can either drag it or place it in the designated spot. And that way, that gives them extra points. So it's kind of like the extra special challenge thing. And then, of course, we have the end game as well, which is 30 seconds long, where they climb. So we did an interesting design for this. Instead of in like past years where they just climb up, we have to climb up and move to the side. So it's like this area where there's 3 spots. There is 3 parking spots in front as well in case the robots can't climb. But the only place you can climb is in the center because you have debris from the tsunami on both sides. So you climb in the center, up to the bar, move over, and then the helicopter pretty much. And then the helicopter pretty much takes them away. Like then they evacuate the city as well. Yeah, that was kind of long, but that's the overview of the game.
Okay. Wait. So just to clarify, like the tiers of the mountain are like on the side of the field, right?
Yes, on the side of the field. And there's only one mountain, but then you place the blocks on your designated alliance's side.
Oh, okay. So the mountain's like split in half, kind of.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like her game design. I think it's really unique.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Can we talk a little bit about what the different groups on our team did for the game design, Natalie? And then we'll focus on different parts.
So instead of like in a normal season, of course, we would have electrical working on the electrical, programming working on the programming, but that was a little bit more difficult since we had to design a game. So we assigned our groups to do different parts of the submission requirements. For example, our electrical team answered all the short answer questions, so they created responses to those. Our programming team came up with the autonomous period, the point system, and then they also created the supplemental pages. And then for our 3D design and build team, they CAD'd the field design and the overall field assembly.
Okay. Sounds pretty good. I also heard what is it? We got in touch with our school's creative writing class, right? To help write the stories.
So for one of our supplemental pages, we wanted to do like an overview of the game, kind of like the whole story part. So we actually connected to our school has a creative writing class. They write a whole bunch. They like have a lot of knowledge on writing like creatively. So we decided to pull a couple of students from that class and have them help us, just so we can make it more creative and sound more fun too.
And then I think I'm supposed to ask you about what your reflection is about the season so far. Whether it's like feelings about the whole season being virtual this year or compared to other seasons. Up to you.
I was upset, of course, that our season had to be virtual because I was so excited to bring the team together and build a robot. But I'm so glad we had the opportunity to still have a season. You know, like I think First did that very well with their different at-home challenges. And honestly, designing a game was really fun because we had to research past games to look at it. It kind of gave me a whole better understanding of First, and I thought it was kind of like reverse of how like the normal seasons are because we got to create the game, you know. So honestly, I think it was the best it could have gone with everything being virtual, you know.
Yeah. I remember that one day we like focused on research for all the past years. It went like all the way back to like 1990 something.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
I think
to
it
look
was
at,
like
looking up
92 was the earliest, which is pretty far back.
92?
Like surprisingly
Yeah, looking
far
at the
back.
first few games. It was a really
Kinda
interesting
crazy.
season, seeing how they created their games like that.
Hmm.
Kind of gives you a little insight on what that process is.
I also remember seeing some pictures where the robots were wired and not wireless, which is something to think about.
That's a scary thought right there. I can't imagine having to connect to the robot the whole time.
They had like some weird elements in their games too. Like things we wouldn't even think of using now. Like
I mean, the chain part was pretty interesting, the fact that we had to work that in. I remember talking about that when we all did beginning of the season brainstorming. We all got together and we all tried to come up with our own ideas. That's where Natalie had mentioned we had a series of different ideas we were talking about. Remember, how do we get a chain in this game?
There were some super weird ideas too, but I mean, with a chain, you kind of have to go weird with it.
Potentially damaging to robots. I think that's why a lot of the ideas had to be discounted.
Oh yeah, definitely.
long. Um, and then one last part about the whole game design challenge, Natalie. How was the interview process? Because I know you're one of the people who presented it to judges.
Yeah, so we had a chairman's interview, and then we also had a interview where the judges asked us about our game. I mean, of course, it's scary, like every public speaking event is, and when you're being judged by people. But we had prepared so much for it. Like we have this whole slideshow. It looked really nice. And we had prepared for it, so it was okay. They asked us a lot of questions that we hadn't really considered, like about like the safety of it, or like what happens if like a robot like tries to attack another robot, or like defend the thing. We were like, what the heck? But it went well because we had prepared so much, and yeah, we pretty much just presented our whole game design to them. Kind of what I did earlier in the overview, except of course a little bit better.
Speaking of presentations, I want to ask you guys about your favorite presentation moments. I know we've all kind of had a couple fun ones. Natalie, you want to start us off?
Let's see. We were presenting to a company that sponsored us, and I remember we had all put our phones on this table, right? And someone's phone goes off during the presentation, like full on ringing, and Miss Wendell has to grab it and shut it off. And then she afterwards she was like, "Whose phone was that?" It was funny because it was like in the middle of us presenting.
There's like a bunch of phones,
That was
and you're like,
funny.
which one?
Yeah.
The phone.
Turn them all off.
Jackson?
I forgot where we were presenting. Do you guys remember where we went last year? I know we went on the short bus, but we basically went with our robot from 2018. And what we had to like sit in a room, and they had like their presentation on what their company was for like, I think it was probably a good 20-30 minutes. So we were sat in the room, we watched the stuff. There's a bunch of other people there too. And then they had like an almost fair type of thing, which is what we took part in. So like to start off, yeah, it was Lawrence, or was it Lawrence? I'm pretty sure it was Lawrence.
Excite.
No.
It was Excite. Yeah, it was Excite.
I remember that one.
So like they had like a bunch of these rooms, and like they let us like go and look at the rooms and stuff first, like see what they had. There was like one where you made slime, and like we went into like a conference room, and we got to talk about what our club did. And then we went back to our presenting our stuff, and then me and someone else, we were driving the robot, and I started to raise the hook a bit because we were just kind of showing off what it could do. So I was raising the hook, and like it kind of like stopped for a second, and then the top of the hook just snapped off, and I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. And well, that's how I got my nickname, Captain Hook.
There you
Moral
go.
of the story.
Further recognized as Captain Hook, he is no longer Jackson on this podcast.
Yeah.
Ellen, what about you?
So my like best memory of a presentation is actually not of the presentation itself. It was like of the bus ride to the presentation. So I'm not sure, Natalie, you might have been there too, but we were driving to like Scottsdale, I think, to go talk to a sponsor. And it was like right after school, but like the drive was kind of long because there was like traffic too. So we were all just like sitting there on the bus, and we were like, we gotta do something. This is too boring. So we started like naming off all the movies we could think of, like on the bus ride. And let's just say there were like some questionable movie titles.
Questionable movies.
Yeah, like I mean, I think I like named some of them too. If I'm being
I'm
completely
almost scared to ask for examples.
I don't know if it's something I should say on.
Interesting.
It was just those type of movies that you wouldn't watch in schools because you wouldn't be allowed to watch.
Bus rides, you have to love them.
Yeah, but it was like one of those movies that like everyone knew about. So that was like the only one I could remember at the moment. So that was one.
Now I'm making my own assumptions.
I'll tell you later, but I won't say it on the stream right now.
Nice. Okay, so my presentation memory, a little more recent. This would have been, I think, October-ish, November, maybe September.
Hell yeah.
We were presenting to a company, and we were doing virtual presentations. So a few of us had gone down to the school and to show off our robot. It was our robot we were going to use during the 2019-2020 season. And let's just say I don't drive the robot. I program some of it. That's where I was comfortable. But luckily we had Jackson there. He was driving the robot, but someone had to man the other controller, so I got to shoot the balls. And you're wearing a mask and safety glasses. You can't exactly see
See
what's
anything.
happening. So I'm shooting the balls and I shoot one at myself. And I hit myself, and 10 out of 10.
Those of you that
It
wear
was better.
glasses, you know how this feels when you're breathing in your mask and then your glasses get fogged up and you just can't see anything? It was basically that, but we're driving a robot. It's super unsafe, but like it's also safer because we have safety glasses on, so it's like win some, lose
Is it
some.
really safer?
Take your
Come on.
poison.
The time before, we did a presentation about maybe a month before. I was the one driving. Even scarier. So many tables. Almost a mentor was taken out.
You did. You almost hit one of them.
It's not my fault. The drive was very ambitious. I wonder who programmed it.
Yeah, so do I.
Says the programming lead of last year. Whoops.
Good times.
Always. Once again, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today. That's all the questions we had for you. Everyone, round of
Of course,
applause
thank you
to our
guys for
engineering
having me.
president.
Of course.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Oh, she's gone now. I miss her already.
I don't know how it can go on.
Well, we'll see her again next week.
Yeah. Alright.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So that was it for our game design challenge overview. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what we have planned for the rest of the season and kind of what we're doing now that game design interviews are over. So to start off, we actually started our in-person meetings again at school because I think, was it right after spring break?
Yes,
that
it
they
was.
let us-
Well, it was.
Yeah.
It was the second week after spring break because the first one we were like, "Hey, are we gonna do this?" And we are like, "Sure."
Oh,
Sure.
right. We took a break to let people figure out if they wanted to go in person or virtual.
Yeah.
The second week after spring break, we started our in-person meetings again. They were the same time, no, they were the same days as our meetings were before, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But then we pushed the time closer so people could catch the late bus at 4 o'clock because we used to have them at 3:30, our meetings, and then we just changed it to 3, right?
Yeah.
I think. Okay. Yeah, so people needed the late bus at 4, or we just didn't want to wait the extra 30 minutes at school just to
They
wait.
weren't
Okay,
left
guys,
out even
we
though the
got
late bus
off
was
school.
canceled.
Time to wait 40 minutes.
Exactly. Who's gonna want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's for meeting times. And now what they're doing in person is, so first semester we were gonna try to do training the newbies with tools and kits, but then the school was like, we're just gonna go back in for virtual after a couple months of in person. So we weren't
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah. That's
So
unfortunate.
that's what we're doing now.
We're doing our training a few weeks before school ends.
Yeah, pretty much.
We did try it. We had a couple weeks of in-person, but
We
unfortunately
attempted,
the
but
cases
failed.
got...
Unfortunately.
Yeah, the cases were getting really bad at that point, so it was it was safer to shut down.
The school was like, "Yeah, no." I'm like,
How about we don't?
I can't say I didn't expect it though.
Yeah, it wasn't something. I'm not surprised. Disappointed, but not surprised.
Yeah. Jackson, you went in person the first time, right?
Yes.
How was it?
There wasn't much different to be honest. We still kind of went into our online meetings anyhow because there wasn't enough people to actually end up doing stuff.
I know the whole business team just stayed online because a lot of what we do is computer based. We don't need to touch too much.
Yeah. It's a little easier to hear each other online too.
Yeah.
Yeah, less noise.
When me and Jackson are like in person, we're like we hear like programming talking right next to us, and then we hear like oh shoot, my timer's going off. Um, and then we hear like Bill on the other side. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Business needs their own room to just talk.
Yeah, we should get our own room, our own office.
Could just sit in the warehouse.
No, the warehouse is not a good place for this. The warehouse is this big. Hallways. You guys are just gonna have to sit Ellen 6 feet away, Jackson at one end.
Opposite sides.
Okay.
It's a safety hazard, I'm sure. Put your laptop on one of the shelves.
Oh my gosh. That would be crazy.
So, yeah, now a lot of what we're focusing on for the rest of the season is doing some of the training that we weren't able to do before, and documentation. A lot of our team, so it's harder to get newer people this year because, of course, we're virtual, and if you join robotics, a lot of people have the expectation that, hey, we're going to build a robot.
We're gonna put stuff together, we're gonna use the saws and stuff, but if you're virtual, you can't exactly do that.
The virtual saw. So it was a little harder to get some membership, but we have a lot of upperclassmen who are graduating this year, so a lot of what we're focusing on is documentation, putting some processes down so next year's students are not struggling.
Or oblivious to how they're supposed to do their job.
They know what to do.
Right, so a lot of it is programming, for example. They're documenting programming processes, like how to use GitHub. That's very essential in our programming, so we have documentation for that. Limelight. We never did get the opportunity to use that one because we shut down, but we have research, right? Definitely applicable. Just little notes and things on how to make our lives easier in the future.
Yeah.
Although programming, now that they're in person, they've been working on going over the FRC code from last year, looking at the bot and having some of our newer members, or just going over the drivetrain and having them code their own, so next year they have that experience to take with them. Build is working on 3D designing a battery holder cart that I'm definitely sure about. Guys, I am 1000% experienced in what Build is doing.
Basically because at pits, at competitions, apparently, I don't know, I wasn't there, but our workstation was apparently a bit of a mess, so we're thinking, hey, get a battery cart and then make everything less of a mess.
Okay, fun story about this one. I remember first competition I went to, didn't have enough room, so our programming was having a couple issues, and we didn't have enough room, so I remember having a laptop on the, inside of our workstation, but having to go around. So imagine this is the wall. We had, a table right here, our laptop was on it, but we just kind of ducked under the tent from the other side to just type. It was chaotic. It worked. But yes, I think
you squatting at some of the pits to help with the code.
Well, sure, I can fit into strange places. I needed to be there.
Anyway, yeah, it was a bit of a mess, so we made a cart.
Does not follow COVID protocol. And now they're doing some of the tool training for things that, well, you have to do the tool training while you're in person.
Drill
Now,
press.
guys, look at this machine. We're gonna show you how to do it on screen. Applicable.
Yeah, just watch it with your eyes and you'll know how to do it.
Yes, the eyes shows you how to do everything.
I'm not a visual learner.
I couldn't. Hands-on. If it's a machine, I imagine you'd want to be hands-on.
Yes, very.
I do know how to use a bandsaw now, though. That was new.
Is it
There's
fun?
a reason. There is a reason my experience in robotics has just been with a computer. Okay.
Oh. Okay. Let's leave it at that. Okay. So on top of what the groups have been doing, the electrical team has also been doing training. So I think actually one of the members from the build team last year said that they were interested in learning electrical. So that's what Natalie is kind of teaching them to as well, because Natalie was a former electrical lead.
And our
So she,
electrical lead
knows.
is not comfortable going in person at the moment,
Oh,
as far as I'm
Yeah.
aware.
I think so, yeah. She's a little busy with work right now, so Natalie's helping out. But our current electrical lead did help make that PowerPoint with like all the different electrical components. And I think it even has like some things about pneumatics on it too. Because we
Fun.
combine electrical and pneumatics, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. That's like their documentation right now, the whole like PowerPoint stuff. And then they're training with like a demo board, I think, with like different wires.
Yeah, more or less.
Mm-hmm. That's all I can think of for electrical right now.
Yeah. And us as business, we're working on our newsletters as per usual. And now that we are approaching the end of the year, we are working on lettering and graduate cords. Also, we're working on lettering from last year because we weren't able to get those out due to school being canceled. So we're getting that done, and we're getting this season's lettering and graduation cords done. So we have those.
Yeah. And lettering is pretty much just like an extra incentive from the club. Like if you're active in the club, then you get a letter for that year.
Right. I believe our freshman year requirements, it was competition participation, attendance, and then volunteer hours was a lot of what we focused on. Of course, last year changed it. Can't get as many volunteer hours.
No competitions.
No competition.
But you can still attend.
Yeah. Definitely more requirements our freshman year.
Yeah. But I mean, hopefully next year we can get some of the things back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This year is just participation. We were like, that's it. We're not going to require anymore.
I mean, what else? Okay, guys, you have to come to the non-existent competition.
What if that got canceled?
I'm so sad. I remember that Wednesday morning just, oh, we're not having a competition?
Yeah. Didn't they tell us like the day?
The day before?
The day we were, I think it was the day we were supposed to leave. They were like, yeah, we're not going. And I'm like,
I think it was the day before, but then they were like, oh yeah, we're still gonna have a meeting today. But
I didn't go, I
don't
don't
pack
think.
your bags.
I think it was just cleaning up, like putting everything back.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, everyone, we had our competition boxes ready. Nope, time to put them away.
It was so depressing. I was so ready for that competition.
I wasn't gonna go to. I wasn't.
I
allowed to go
wasn't.
to
We
that
didn't
one.
get our drive auditions done because we were too busy working on the robot before.
Oh.
Hey, you had a pretty good chance at
And
driving.
making sure the drive was actually working because it was kind of finicky, to be
Hey,
honest.
the drive worked wonderfully. I don't know what you mean. You just
Didn't-
have to be careful with that left joystick.
Didn't we like almost kill someone?
Well, yeah, it was very 0 to 50, kinda. Well,
Yikes.
0 to 1, I should say.
What? Where's the confidence here?
No, it was very crazy. It was just don't drive it. I regret driving that robot. No, the
It was a good
presentation, it was so embarrassing because I'm sitting there about 10 minutes beforehand. How do I drive this? I've never driven this robot. In every experience I have a video on my phone from last season where we were trying to program autonomous and instead it just started going in circles.
What the heck? You need to show me this video. I've never seen
I'll
it.
send it later, but yeah, it's chaotic and I think programmers are 10 out of 10. We love them and they should be allowed to drive all the robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sure. We can do that. And, never. But,
I'm offended.
I'll leave it up to the build team to decide.
Why does
What
the
they
build
want.
team get to decide?
They'll be like, what happened to our robot? And then I'll be like, no comment.
I have a vested interest in what happens to the robot.
Do you
Mostly.
though?
Yeah, like the Robo Rio, that's my child. We have to protect that. If I harm the robot, there's a good potential I'll harm that.
Baby bot.
Okay, we don't talk about what happened to BuddyBot.
You run over it.
BuddyBot was an unfortunate accident. He slipped, okay?
He retired.
He recovered, for the most part.
Is he like okay? Actually, like
Maybe.
No. I think BuddyBot is functional at this moment.
Oh.
He works. I just remember
Functional.
one time we were... we were trying to load up on the bus. Oh, for context, BuddyBot is this smaller robot about
This
yay
big.
big.
Yeah.
And it's a little, just kind of a little box.
A
and
foot cubed about.
Yeah, it has the Robo Rio, a couple other things, just for mainly programming uses it to test a couple of things. Very basic type. And
It
I
has
was
two
holding
wheels.
Does it?
It only
Oh,
has
yeah, it
two
does.
wheels, and then it has two nubs that have low friction, so it can still move around, but it still has two wheels.
Yeah, I was loading it up one time and I accidentally dropped it. We don't mention that. It never happened, and he's made a great recovery.
Sounds like he's gone through a lot.
Yeah, he has some head trauma now.
BuddyBot has seen a lot of bad days, but
And head
we
trauma.
still love
He's seen
him.
head trauma.
No, he's seen nothing but love.
And head trauma.
Although
If you say so.
okay, one thing about BuddyBot that I think needs to be amended was the fact that we have our warehouse and they have shelves. He was always on the top shelf. Now, being 5 foot, you can't reach him, so we always had to get a tall builder to go reach him for us. Or we had this
Mitch.
programmer.
Just Mitch.
Mitch, yes. Programmer, yes, he's tall. He can reach it. But for us short people, that was very inconvenient because you'd be balancing on a chair trying to grab it. Safety of the year.
Hmm.
The safety officers love to see me.
Alright. I think that about wraps up what we're doing.
Yeah, we're getting off topic now.
Yeah.
We're just talking about all the accidents now. That might not be a good image for our team.
Yeah, no.
Well,
It happened.
We're cutting off Katie.
it happened. No, don't cut me off. I'm so sad. Well,
No, we're
thank you
actually-
everyone so much for joining us today. In a couple weeks, we'll be doing another stream. Be sure to check that out.
Starring a
And-
guest person who you don't know.
A guest person, yes, a special guest, a mystery.
Unknown.
It is someone
That's-
you shall find out next time.
Yes, incentive to come back.
Exactly.
Anyhow, thank you so much for watching us, and I believe that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
I
a
think
good day.
I think we're all bad at outros, so let's just call it here.
We should do we want to do that our team meeting call out?
No.
We always-
Yes.
No.
You know what?
Yes,
Come
we're
on.
good.
Okay, we're doing it.
Okay.
Our
Every meeting we
sounds
do.
good.
Wait.
1,
meeting
2, 3.
Pridetronics.
Pridetronics.
That was
In
messed up.
sync, we got it.